Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda's influence on Netaji's spiritual awareness. So, Swamiji and Netaji, I think these two names, they don't need any formal introduction, though. Still, to begin, I like to share that in 1863, January 12th, India or Bharatvarsho got a patriot as well as a monk, a philosopher, a spiritual leader that India didn't see before, Swami Vivekananda. There is another name in the history of India's freedom struggle, which is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Today, we are celebrating Swamiji's birth anniversary. Also, it is Swamiji's Janma Tithi. And Netaji's birth anniversary is coming on January 23rd. So, I thought to share some relationships between Swamiji and Netaji. If Swamiji wouldn't be there at that time, we might have not gotten freedom from the British or might have lost our faith in Hindu Dharma. And after Swamiji, under the influence of his philosophy, Netaji vowed to make the country independent. I don't think there is any need to give a formal introduction to Netaji as well. He was Swamiji's Manas Putra. In Bengali, it is called Manas Putra. I don't know it's the actual translation in English. I just tried like a spiritual son who turned Swamiji's thought into action. Swamiji was a true patriot. We all know that. And the core of Swamiji's patriotism was in the renunciation and love affection towards the mankind. A spiritual love towards all the Indians, irrespective of castes and religion. And he realized the ultimate greatness, that is Shiva, in the miserable, poor, wretched Indians. So what is Swamiji used to say that the mantra Shivoham Shivoham. So we all inside, we all are Shiva. So we always said that also his quote that is very popular in all of us, that Shiva Gyane Jiva Sheva, worship Shiva through the act of service to human. Netaji has mentioned in his book that he was particularly inspired by Swamiji's philosophy of practical Vedanta, which is serving the poor, the needy, and the afflicted as a means of worshipping the divinity in them. So it is like Atmana Mokshartham Jagat Hitayacha, the center of Swami Vivekananda's philosophy. This means for the salvation of our individual self and for the well-being of all on the earth. I also like to share from the book named Joyotu Netaji. It is written in Bengali, written by Mohitlal Mojumdar. He said, such a beautifully he said there, that if we do not realize Swami Vivekananda, we can't realize Netaji. Besides, if we don't know Netaji, we may not, rather, we cannot understand Swamiji's philosophy. This is why I found it is really not irrelevant to talk about Netaji's spirituality while we are celebrating Swami Vivekananda. They are just like both sides of the same coin. According to Netaji, Swamiji's unique greatness was in harmonizing East and West, religion and science, past and present. It was only Swami Vivekananda who preached the idea of complete freedom, inner and external. It is quite evident from the Indian Pilgrim, the unfinished autobiography of Netaji, as well as other biographies of Netaji, that he was inspired by Swami Vivekananda after he happened to read the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. That time, Netaji was 12 years old when he became very close to his principal, Beni Madhav Das, and he guided Netaji in many ways to build his character, ethics of life, and how to be connected with nature, the way of meditation. And with his guidance, initially, Netaji used to meditate. But here I also like to mention that Netaji always had a habit to meditate from his very childhood. It got more nourished maybe with the principal's guide. But slowly he started feeling, Netaji, here I'm talking about, that slowly he started feeling lost in a quest for a center principle of life. Netaji said that he was looking for an answer which could help him to build his life. But he was not satisfied enough. Then he found the complete works of Swami Vivekananda and from one of his relatives' library, and this was his turning point toward a deep spiritual realization. Here, I will go back to Netaji's childhood again. What we found that Netaji got to know about Swamiji when he was about 15 years old. But the seed of his spiritual awareness was planted in his early childhood. How? Because Netaji was very young, only 5 years old when Swamiji left his mortal body. It was Prabhavati Devi, Netaji's mother, who was a deep spiritual personality and dedicated reader of Gospel of Ramakrishna or Kathamrita, from where Netaji was introduced to Sri Sri Ramakrishna and his teachings. So we can see here what we called sanskar or sanskar in Bengali. It was there from the beginning of his life, and later it got nourished by Swami Vivekananda's philosophy. Young Netaji wrote 9 letters to his mother, which are very strong evidence of his deep realization about Ramakrishna and his teachings. The background was like that every year Netaji, along with his family, used to visit their ancestral house in Kodalia, it is in West Bengal, for celebrating Durga Puja, because they used to live in Cuttack, and during this Durga Puja time they used to come to Kodalia to celebrate Durga Puja. But during the year of 1912, because of his entrance exam, he stayed back at home in Cuttack and his mother went to Kodalia. He was very close and affectionate son to his mother. He was maybe missing his mother at that time, so he started writing a few letters to his mother. Those 9 letters could have had a perfect reflection of his spiritual mind and thinking. Let me share a few lines from his letters. He wrote like, "Goal of life is to realize God. Like the destination of all rivers is the sea, the destination of our life is God. If you couldn't realize the ultimate or the self, true self, the consciousness, if there is no vision for God, then our life becomes purposeless." These are few lines from those letters that he wrote to his mother. And see, this deep realization came to Netaji when he was only 15 years old. And it was, we can see, it is the perfect reflection of Kathamrita and Vivekananda's work. Later, he wrote in his autobiography, that is unfinished work by Netaji. I'm quoting from there. Quote, "From Vivekananda, I turned gradually to his master Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Vivekananda had made speeches, written letters, and published books which were available to the layman. But Ramakrishna, who was almost an illiterate man, had done nothing of the kind. He had lived his life and had left it to others to explain it. Nevertheless, there were books or diaries published by his disciples which gave the essence of his teachings. There was nothing new in his teaching, which is as old as Indian civilization itself. The Upanishads, having taught thousands of years ago that through abandonment of worldly desires alone can immortal life be attained. The effectiveness of Ramakrishna's appeal lay, however, in the fact that he had practiced what he preached and that he had reached the acme of spiritual progress." Unquote. Now, I will conclude today by reading two quotes from both Netaji and Swamiji. In Netaji's word, again, quote, "How shall I express in words my indebtedness to Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda? It is under their sacred influence that my life got first awakened. If Swamiji had been alive, I would have been at his feet." Unquote. And before Swamiji left his body, he said, quote, "If there were another Vivekananda, he would have understood what Vivekananda has done. And yet, how many Vivekanandas shall be born in time?" Unquote. I think maybe this was the indication of Subhash Chandra's arrival. Pranam. Thank you.